Black is not the absence of light. Most people have learned to associate black with sadness or pessimism. But symbolically, perhaps black represents exactly the opposite. The universe is dark. The womb is dark. Fertile soil is dark. The night is dark. And it is precisely from this apparent emptiness that life emerges. The seed must disappear into the dark earth before the plant can grow. A baby develops for months in darkness. Stars are born in the depths of the cosmos. Perhaps black is not the absence of light. Perhaps it is light that has not yet been revealed. Saturn and silence. Why do some people feel so good wearing black? Astrology and psychology may have an answer, and the opening would become, have you ever noticed that some people seem to be naturally drawn to black? Not just in the clothes they wear, but also in quiet spaces, dark tones, simplicity, depth, and everything that conveys a sense of intimacy and reserve. Is it simply a matter of personal taste, or could something deeper be taking place? There is a fascinating tendency that has been observed for centuries within astrological traditions, and that also finds symbolic parallels in depth psychology. And interestingly, different perspectives seem to point in the same direction. Perhaps our attraction to certain colors is not as random as we think. A tendency, not a rule. Before anything else, it is important to understand one thing. We are not talking about absolute rules. Not everyone will identify with what is being discussed here. Astrology does not deal in fatalism. It deals with tendencies, potentials, and predispositions. But there is an interesting observation that has appeared again and again. When a person is born with a strong Saturnian influence, or when important planets such as the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Saturn, Pluto, or Neptune are placed in earth signs or in houses associated with introspection, such as the 4th, 8th, and 12th houses, certain characteristics tend to emerge more frequently. Discretion, depth, reserve, silence, intimacy, contemplation, a sense of nostalgia, a touch of melancholy, and, interestingly, a special affinity for darker tones and the color black. This does not mean that everyone will experience these tendencies, but these patterns have been observed, compared, and described countless times within the symbolic literature of astrology. Perhaps the soul recognizes something familiar. Perhaps the soul does not choose certain colors by accident. Perhaps there is a deep symbolic memory that makes certain people resonate with specific frequencies, environments, and colors. It is almost as if unconsciously, some souls recognize something familiar in black, something ancient, something intimate, as though that color reminds them of their own nature, their origin, their spiritual family, their way of being, because black speaks of discretion, of depth, of intimacy, of introspection, of reserve, of silence, of contemplation, of that which matures slowly, of that which grows without drawing attention. Black is not the absence of light. Most people have learned to associate black with sadness or pessimism, but symbolically, perhaps black represents exactly the opposite. The universe is dark, the womb is dark, fertile soil is dark, the night is dark, and it is precisely from this apparent emptiness that life emerges. The seed must disappear into the dark earth before the plant can grow. A baby develops for months in darkness. Stars are born in the depths of the cosmos. Perhaps black is not the absence of light. Perhaps it is light that has not yet been revealed. Saturn and silence. In astrological tradition, Saturn has always been associated with time, maturity, responsibility, and withdrawal. For this reason, when this archetype manifests strongly within a person, it is common to observe a preference for everything that conveys stability, depth, and simplicity. Many of these individuals do not feel the need to attract attention. They prefer essence over spectacle, quality over excess, silence over noise, depth over appearances, not because they are cold or pessimistic, but because their nature seems to seek what is lasting. The psychology of the shadow. Carl Jung observed that there is a deep dimension of the psyche that he called the shadow. It does not necessarily represent something negative. It represents everything that has not yet become fully conscious, everything that is still maturing. Perhaps this is why some people feel so comfortable in quiet places, subtle colors, and environments that encourage introspection. Not because they are running away from the light, but because they are in contact with deeper dimensions of the soul. The mystery of alchemy. Ancient alchemists referred to the first stage of the great work as Nigredo, the black phase. But contrary to what many people imagine, it did not symbolize failure. It symbolized the beginning of transformation. It was the moment when everything had to descend into the depths in order to be reborn. Nothing truly new could emerge without first passing through this mysterious stage of darkness. Interestingly, lead, the metal symbolically associated with Saturn, was considered the raw material of transformation. And perhaps this symbolism contains a profound truth. Maybe black has never represented death. Maybe it has always represented potential. The seed hidden beneath the earth, the child growing in the womb, the silence before the music, the night before the sunrise. Perhaps black is not an ending. Perhaps it is preparation. The color of maturity. There is a silent beauty in black. It does not shout. It does not beg for attention. It does not need to prove anything. It simply is. And perhaps this is why some people feel so comfortable within it. Because at some invisible level, they recognize in that frequency something that belongs to their own nature. Not a sad nature, but a deep one. Not a pessimistic nature, but a reflective one. Not a cold nature, but a reserved one. Perhaps these souls recognize in black the language of silence, contemplation, intimacy, and maturity. A language that values essence over appearance. A language that understands that not everything beautiful needs to be loud. The soul speaks through images. Psychologist James Hillman once suggested that the soul thinks through images, not through abstract concepts, but through symbols, dreams, myths, memories, colors, and emotions. Perhaps that is why certain landscapes, seasons, sounds, and colors touch us so deeply. Not because they are fashionable, but because they awaken something ancient within us. Perhaps black is one of those images, not merely a color, but a symbol, a mirror, a reminder, something that speaks directly to the imagination of the soul. A final reflection. Perhaps black has never been the color of absence. Perhaps it is the color of gestation, the color of the seed before spring, the color of coal before becoming a diamond, the color of the night before dawn. And perhaps this is why some people, especially those in whom the symbols of introspection, depth, and contemplation manifest more intensely, experience a strange sense of familiarity in the presence of this color, as though, silently, it reminds them of something very old, something that cannot be explained by logic alone, something that belongs to memory, something that belongs to the soul. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is why some people do not merely wear black. They feel at home within it.